Hi, everybody.
Hey, guys.
How are you doing tonight? Good to see everybody. We're very excited. I know we do this once a month, and I've been looking forward to it. How's everyone doing tonight? Let us know in the chat. Hope you're all well. Oh, I don't know what happened. I can't hear you now. Can you hear me? Are you muted?
Can you hear me? I didn't mute myself.
Oh, yeah, I can hear you now. I don't know what happened.
Oh, well.
Here we are.
Oh, we both kind of have almost matching lipstick on. I didn't look at that.
I know, yeah, I threw some on because I figured you'd have some on, and I never wear lipstick, so... I feel like
Well, this is like my only time I actually want to get ready for anything, so...
Me too, so...
This is when it happens.
This is what you guys get.
Okay, guys, so to those of you who are here already, welcome. Today's stream is going to be about the wood chipper murder. We're super excited to tell you this story. Well, Bethany's going to tell it to you. I'm going to be listening. I kind of researched it anyway, even though she normally tells me these stories, because I liked this one, and it's very intriguing, and I like it. So, just kind of the necessities and the business part of the show. Obviously, you can look down below and see all of our social media info. Go give us a follow if you haven't already. We did skip a week on releasing a podcast this Sunday because we had technical difficulties. I just came back from vacation and it was craziness. So tomorrow we're actually going to record 3 episodes.
That is a lot. That's a lot of hours.
So you may get a double episode this week or next week or whatever. So maybe not. Who knows? We'll see. But yeah, we're gonna knock them out. We have some really cool, interesting cases. We have kind of a conspiracy. Hey, Stephanie, you made it. I know you said you didn't know if you were going to.
Welcome.
But we have a conspiracy theory for you. We have a kind of really creepy paranormal case that's just going to be interesting. And then we have a local to Shreveport case, actually very sad case. So, and I hope I'm going to do it justice. But I'm really excited about what we have coming up. We are still taking requests. I've actually had a couple of people message me in the past couple of days with requests from cases, and excited about all the stuff we're gonna do. Now that I had a little vacation, I feel like running in head first into this. So,
do you know how I've been getting recommendations for cases lately? Is people that are friends with me on TikTok send me TikToks of like certain stuff, and they're like, "You and Crystal should talk about this," and I'm like, "Thank you, TikTok." Because it's like free research. It like gives you free ideas of people that are posting. They're basically posting like, "Hey, somebody that has a podcast should talk about this person." And I sent Crystal one the other day about that lady that traveled. Was it to Africa?
Yes,
That was crazy.
Like she was trying to be like this missionary, and say she was a doctor, but she literally wasn't a doctor at all, and was killing kids basically.
It's terrifying that she did all that, and like basically is getting away with it because she's just out there free. And yeah, anyways, shout out to TikTok and thank you for all of you that send me videos because I
get them on Instagram all the time. I have people message me on Instagram. A girl that I work with sent me like 3 2-minute long audio voice clips saying, "Please talk about this case." She's like, I'm requesting it. You don't have to do it, but I'd really, really, really love it if you did. So that's how I get a lot of them, is people just texting me or on Instagram saying, "Do this one, talk about this." So,
which I know me and Crystal like that because we want to talk about stuff that you guys want to hear. We don't want to just kind of hear and talk about stuff that's already been talked about 5 million times. So
those are fun, but like I like the small stuff that no one ever really heard of.
I do too.
I do want to get more into some mysteries though, like just like unsolved mysteries.
I do too. Cold cases, that would be really fun.
Yeah.
Are
So
are kind of fun. Not normal people. It's kind of fun, but
yeah, yeah, we'll eventually do. And I was thinking like I want to do like a couple of the big mysteries like Roanoke or I don't know, I can't think of anything off the top of my head right now. But like I want to do like one or two of those, but I want to like find some like
I
missing person cases or
agree.
stuff that people haven't done.
I did see. I don't know if you do you follow Selena on TikTok? She's from Canada. She does the sleepwalking videos.
I sent some to you.
Yeah, okay, so she posted a day because she's kind of thinking about starting her podcast again. She used to have one. And
Mm-hmm.
she was talking about the Lost Boys, which is that case that happened up in Canada where, like, that group of 8 boys, like teenage boys, all disappeared on the same day from the same location. That would be really cool to talk about.
Be cool.
They just
We'll
kind
have
of.
to let's add it to the list we started today of cases.
We have a lot, guys. We have a lot. Me and Crystal are always like, ooh, let's do this one. And it's a long list. It's a long list.
Yeah. Okay, well, you want to jump into the wood chipper murder?
I do. And I just want to put a disclaimer. I'm going to try not to be loud this episode, this stream.
Yes, for Mr. whatever your name was, I can't remember, who said that she was loud and obnoxious and should have just let me talk. Well, this time it's her time to talk. So,
Which I love that you loved Crystal. That made me very happy. You left a very nice comment about how well Crystal did. Because if you guys don't know, if you miss us here on Twitch, all of our streams and our podcasts get uploaded to our YouTube channel, which is Bayou Chronicles Podcast. You have to put all of that for some reason. YouTube is really
yeah.
weird. And we got our first hate comment, and
Comments.
yeah, several. We had several different people, and
One did say, and I really wish I could have commented on it before Bethany deleted it, because we delete them because they are good for our like mental health. Like we're just not gonna let it.
because
We're not censoring anyone. Like I'm just not gonna play that game.
I kept going back and reading it. So for my
But yes,
sanity,
you got to delete it when you keep reading it. But it literally said, "Is this whole thing about bashing whatever the guy's name was? I can't think of his name right now because I'm just so annoyed by this person." And I'm like, "No, ma'am, it wasn't. I made 2 comments about this man.
we
2
actually
comments.
we actually didn't really talk about him that much. We talked about
No.
how he had a book and the book was too expensive, and that was it.
Yeah. Oh, and I said that he was a COVID denier and that you
Yes.
should take that for what it's worth.
Yes. And
Like,
that
do I think the man has some great valid points?
he does.
100%. But I also think he's kind of blowing it out of proportion as well too.
Yeah.
But I didn't. To me, that's unbiased. Like I said, good things about him. I said bad things about him. But I said the book that he's trying to sell for like $400 is way too much money.
That's the same price as some books that I paid for in college.
Yes. So, lady, if you want to watch us again, come at me.
And a lovely gentleman did make a comment that I'm way too loud and obnoxious on our streams and our podcasts. I'm sorry. I've never been told ever in my life that I'm too loud. I'm always told to speak up and I'm too quiet and I sound like a 12-year-old child. So I'm very sorry that you felt that way. I'm really glad that you like Crystal. And not everybody's going to like our streams and our podcast. That's your prerogative. And I'll try not to make too much noise because I guess I was also opening a few snacks for my kids. I am a mom, so I'm sorry that I didn't mute my mic. But for future reference, I am a mom. I do have my kiddos right now. And me and Crystal are doing our best. And we really like to get on here and talk to you guys. So if you don't like us,
we have lives. So
yeah.
if you have a problem with her being loud and obnoxious and a mom, maybe we're not for you.
I'm sorry. But yeah, you can always turn our video off. But thank you for giving us the view over on YouTube, because we do have a goal that we would like to meet by the end of the year. So
And I'm
thanks.
pretty sure that is our most viewed video as well. Am I
It,
wrong?
it has almost 400 views right
Yeah.
now. And like 10 likes. So somebody likes it out there. There's 10 people that liked it and 400 people that watched it. So thanks. Anyways, okay, alright, finally, let's get in. We've been talking for like 15 minutes about life and anything. But that's why me and Crystal like these. It's not just us like talking into a microphone with nobody seeing us. So let's start talking about Helle Craft. And I will just say, there was like 3 different ways that people pronounced her name. And I'm going to go by the way her family pronounced it, which is Helle. There are some people that said Hella, Heel, like, oh my gosh. Like, I understand. I've had my name.
Every single thing I watched was different with her name, so it was strange.
So I'm going to go by how her close friends and her mom says it, which is Helle. And I can relate, like, my name is not even that hard, and you can't. I've been called like 5 million things, Brittany being the top one. But anyways, we're gonna talk about Helle Craft.
I called you that the other day.
But we were talking about a Brittany, so.
Oh, yeah, it happens.
Anyways, she was born Helle Lork Nielsen, July 7th, 1947, in Denmark. So I feel like this is kind of an international case, because we're going to talk about the U.S. and Denmark. And I feel like every case Crystal and I talk about describes a person that was an actual angel on earth that would end up murdered. I can't tell you guys enough. Like, people, like, raved about her. Like, all the research I found, she was just the sweetest and just the kindest. And it was just, why do we always, I mean, not that I want, like, a bad person to die, but, like, why is it always, like, just, like, sweet souls that this happens to? It just, I don't know. There was a lot of nice things said about her. It wasn't like one of those things where, like, oh, she died, let's say a bunch of nice things. No, like, she was genuinely a good person.
I don't know we've done a case where the person wasn't just, like, a really good person.
I know. And, like, and so what? If they were a bad person, like, I'm not gonna go out and just, like,
well, does that mean, like, I should try not to be the best person ever? Because if I'm the best person ever, then that increases my chances of being brutally murdered.
I agree.
So.
I agree.
Maybe I should just keep a little bit of an attitude and I won't get murdered.
It's a little spicy. So maybe it's good. Maybe it's good that I'm loud and obnoxious on here.
Yeah.
People won't want to kidnap me.
They don't want to kill you.
Yeah, anyways. And we can thank, Crystal already said it, but we can thank somebody in our chat right now, the lovely Stephanie, for this case. Thank you so much. I hadn't heard about this one, so, like, thank you so much, because I researched it like nobody's business. Like, I went to YouTube. You guys know I love my YouTube. I watched a ton there. I know Crystal watched the Oxygen special, or no, it was Forensic Files, or
Forensic Files, yes, because it was I just happened to turn on Forensic Files, and the very first episode of season 1, episode 1 is her case.
I watched it as well, and there's like a lot of really good documentaries on YouTube, and I'm gonna make sure when we upload this to YouTube that I'm gonna put all the links to that, because you can obviously, listen to us because you love us. But they do have some really great videos on YouTube that just give lots of details. Because if I told every detail, we would probably be here for hours. But everything described Helle as such an amazing person. I mean, like, literally, she was very outgoing, very ambitious, a hard-working woman. But, I mean, there was not a whole lot of information about Helle's upbringing. I'm going to assume that her father either passed away or was not in the picture, because there was no information about him. A little bit about her mother and where she was born, and that's about it. Besides her, it basically was, like, not that much from her. It was her being born, not that much, and then her coming to America because she wanted to pursue the career of becoming a flight attendant or a stewardess, whichever is your prerogative on how to say it. Um, and her mom did stay back in Denmark. I'm not really sure why her mom didn't want to move to America. I'm sure she probably had her reasonings. But there was so much information about Richard Craft. Like, when I tell you.
Again, they always have so much information about the
I mean, like.
butthole who murders these people, but nothing about the person who was actually murdered.
Butthole. I agree. That's perfect word. That's perfect PG Twitch word. Butthole.
Yes.
Yes. And like, why do we do that? Why does society care more about the killer's upbringing than the actual victim? Because not every childhood, not every upbringing is gonna show us why these people killed. Like, sometimes people just killed.
Snap. Yeah.
They could have had a normal childhood, both parents in the picture, everything they need. They're okay. They were taught right from wrong. They just one day, like Crystal said, snap and kill somebody. But like, we are literally obsessed. We're like obsessed with like everything. And I think me and Crystal do it differently because, I mean, we'll talk about the killer, but we really focus on what happened and the person that was killed, because I mean,
and it's hard though, like, especially when you're researching and everything that you're bombarded with is like who this person was, that why they snapped and why they did this and their entire criminal history, and I'm like, that's great and all, but I don't care about that. I want to know more about the life that was cut short. Like, that's what's important to me.
And like, sometimes how they got away with it, because sometimes
Yes.
keeping up with that can help, like the police and the FBI. That's how they started making profiles and stuff. That is okay to research, but like, we glamorize it too much. We like, it's just, I don't even know, because literally, and if you guys want to stop right now, like swipe up, put us in a little side box, and just go and Google Helle Craft. She does not even pop up at first. It is Richard all the way down. I had to scroll to the second page before I could really like find information on her, because it jumps into him. It's like, you literally Google Helle Craft's murder or Helle Craft's childhood, and it's just Richard, 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 and I'm like, all right, if this was my child, if I was her mom, this is my daughter. If I was her children and I was researching my mom, like, that would make me feel sad. It would bring up all those emotions. But I mean, that's kind of how we are. That's kind of how our society is.
We're just kind of obsessed. Since we're obsessed with true crime, I think that people want to understand why a person snapped or what happened to cause a person to do that act. And so we obsess over every detail over their life. And while I think that is helpful, maybe if we were investigating another person who did something similar, I don't think it's helpful in the context of discussing it in podcasts. And I honestly, I haven't told you this, but I really do want us to get better at going forward when we name our podcast, to not necessarily name the podcast after the person who did it, but the people who lost their lives.
I agree.
I feel like we're telling their story. We're not telling the story of a killer.
I agree.
I want to tell the story of the person who was killed, who lost their life, who deserves to have their story told.
I agree. Anyways, moving forward. In 1969, Helle would meet Richard Craft at a convention of some sorts. It was basically for pilots and flight attendants. Not much info on it. It was just they both attended, ran into each other. They really liked each other. Richard explained to Helle that he was a pilot for Eastern Airlines, which was kind of like a local airline to Connecticut. And Helle was hoping to get a job in Connecticut. She had just moved to the U.S. recently, was going through the process, and this was kind of like perfect. Oh, I came to a convention and I met a handsome pilot. Like, the stars were just kind of aligning, or she thought, I really think it was like a job fair tied into one, like a job fair and a convention, because that's kind of like how everybody was describing it, which makes sense. And the rest was basically history, because a few short years later, after dating, they married and became the ultimate power couple. I mean, the pilot husband and the flight attendant wife. I mean, that literally feels like a movie. Like, I feel like I've watched a movie about that somewhere. The only movie coming to mind is Catch Me If You Can, and that has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but that deals with something about, pilots and such. Anyways, Helle would go on to give birth to 3 children, 2 sons and 1 daughter. And I'm just going to leave it at that. That's just so you guys know that they did have children, and we'll talk about them later. But Crystal and I never give out children's names on any of our episodes.
Unless we have to, because their buttholes like their parents are.
Yes, so. Which we did do that in Amityville. We did talk about. They're grown adults, though. Yeah. They're like in their 50s, 60s. But anyways, these were small children at the time. If you want to, you can go research them, but a lot of the times we don't mention them. And they change their names as well. They like to go by different aliases, as they should. I mean, they went through traumatic experiences, and I wouldn't want to be known as that person's daughter or son. But to everybody, the Craft family was amazing. I mean, everything you could dream of, like the all-American dream. Perfect jobs. Your mom is, he just passed.
Like when?
I just researched, and it says he was living in a halfway home.
Oh, it says 2 days ago.
What the heck? That's creepy that we're talking about this right now. I swear.
I just Googled it, and I was like, what?
I swear. I did more research this morning.
I did it the other day. I was reading something about them the other day.
Oh, no, my mom's saying DeFeo, the DeFeo son. Is that who you're talking about, Crystal? Or are you talking about...
I'm talking about Ronald DeFeo.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, that's weird. I literally just mentioned him. That's weird. I love how my...
It says they still don't know the cause of death.
Wow.
He was 69.
Yeah, that's... Wow. That's so creepy. We just mentioned him.
Yeah.
Anyways, the Craft family was living the all-American dream. They had perfect jobs. I mean, your mom's a flight attendant and your dad's a pilot. Like, that's just literally, like, the American dream.
And cheap air travel, so,
yes.
win-win.
Beautiful kids. They had 3 children. Perfect relationship. Perfect house. Their house was really nice. If you want to look up pictures of it, it does kind of remind me of the house from... Nightmare on Elm Street, except it doesn't have a red door, which is good. But it was a really nice house. Or so everyone in their lives thought, because they were really, really laying on that, they had this perfect thing going on. But behind closed doors, Helle was desperately wanting to keep working as a flight attendant, and they were kind of bickering back and forth. But ultimately, Richard said, that he did want her to return to work. And having 3 small children at home and, a spouse that always is gone as well because he's a pilot, they sought out the help of a live-in nanny, which is putting a lot of faith in somebody. I mean, that's, going from staying home with your 3 children and kind of putting your super cool career on the back burner to then moving in a live-in nanny that's going to take care of your children from the time they wake up till the time they go to bed for multiple days. And Dawn Marie Thompson would answer their ad, and she moved all the way from Idaho to Connecticut to help the Craft family, which is amazing. I mean, that's a huge move to help a family that you literally don't even know. Like, that's to me, that's amazing that they even found somebody, and it was amazing that they didn't find anybody local, that somebody had to come all the way from Idaho. But
That's crazy.
I'm reading too much into that, but like I was like, wow. And back to work, Helle went. Like I told you guys, Helle was so ambitious. Like she knew she wanted a career in her life. And she was like, yes, I want to be a mom. More than anything, I want to be a mom. But she was like, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to work hard as I can and be a mom at the same time. So shout out to her.
Good for her.
Because that's amazing. 3 kids and being a flight attendant. Like, I get stressed when we occasionally have to fly. I can't think about having to fly daily as my job and then go home to 3 kids. Like, that's...
Flying is exhausting.
It is. I get that jet lag and just like you're literally not doing anything. You're sitting down and you're tired when you get off. Like, she's working on the plane. Can you imagine?
I cannot.
Anyways, but she went back to work knowing her children would be taken care of when Richard and her were away for work, because obviously they're gone a lot. But the marriage was slowly becoming more and more rocky. Richard had a really bad temper, which is not surprising that not a lot of people know about it, because a lot can happen behind closed doors that you never see until stuff like this happens. But he became very distant to Helle, which is, for us ladies, a telltale sign. Something's going on. You don't gotta be cheating, but something is up. And Helle just really felt like something was off. Like, she just had that woman's intuition. And the fact that the perfect family just wasn't so perfect after all. And in September of 1986, Helle actually hired a private investigator named Keith Mayo. This is another thing about names. Like, in some of the research, his name was Oliver. And I'm going to go with all the ones that were, like, TV specials, and they called him Keith. So, Keith Mayo, private investigator, to prove that, you know, her suspicions are true, or, you know, peace of mind that maybe she's just overreacted. Either way, she'll have her answer. But it literally took like maybe a day for the PI Mayo to have enough evidence to give Helle, which is so embarrassing for him, you know. She's probably thinking, oh, I'm overreacting. It's nothing. No, a day later, he's like, ma'am, I have all the photos and that you need right here. And it's like, oh my God. Anyways, but just a few short days later, when when Helle was actually away for work, she was gone on a flight, Mayo was kind of following him and was outside their home, and he snapped a lovely photo of Richard giving a young flight attendant outside their home a kiss. I'm not sure if she like dropped him off after work or what, but like they both had their uniforms on. That's how the private investigator knew that she was a flight attendant. But that is literally gut-wrenching. I know for me, that would be gut-wrenching. I can answer for Crystal. Yeah.
Cry.
Yeah. Not only cheating, but at your home. I mean, it was just a kiss, but the private investigator like made it known that like by how they were acting that this was probably a regular occurrence. It just felt like too familiar. She dropped him off. She walked to the door, which like I guess chivalry isn't dead for women. That's very polite of her. Gave him, they had like a 2-minute, you know, little embrace, and then she left. So it kind of just felt like this is probably going on a lot. And like at the home that you share with your wife and your kids, like outside.
Like I cannot condone cheating in any way, shape, or form. But it's a whole other thing to do it in your own home.
In your home.
That like, well, not even necessarily your home, your wife's home or your girlfriend's home.
And like,
sir, like, absolutely not.
Like, what if the neighbors saw? Like, they lived in the suburbs, like the fancy suburbs. You know they talk. You know they watch out their windows.
I mean, look at your situation.
Yeah, but I mean,
you knew before he knew.
I mean, yeah, exactly. I need to clarify. Crystal is not talking about my husband before somebody
Oh,
comes
I'm
on
sorry.
here. My neighbor next to me, we do live on a military base. He was gone for a deployment, sadly, and his wife moved someone in while they were away. We still to this day have not discussed it, but we have a mutual agreement that he knows, and we moved on from it. But it was very uncomfortable, and I did not like knowing about it the entire time he was gone.
Exactly how you felt, like, is how someone else would have felt if they saw.
Imagine how he felt when he got home and realized. But anyways, if you're not going to be faithful to your spouse, just move on. Don't waste their time. Anyways, my neighbor would probably be a lot nicer person if his wife was nice to him. So thank you. Anyways, but like, I feel like did the nanny see something? Didn't the kids ever see something? Like, how did nobody? I don't know. Maybe they just weren't looking outside. But that like literally got the ball rolling because Helle immediately spoke with the divorce attorney and began the process to divorce her husband, Richard. Yes, my mom is letting some tea be known. It was in fact another woman. And no, it wasn't a friend because I would go out to take my dogs for a walk and they would be making out on the back porch. So, yes, it was very stressful 5 months of my life. I didn't like knowing. I don't like tea. I like to drink it.
I'm the opposite. You can tell me all the tea. As long as it's not my tea or my drama.
Drama makes me anxious. It makes me anxious, and I felt very anxious the entire 5 months that he was gone. So, I'm so sorry that your wife did that to you. And I'm so sorry we're talking about somebody else cheating and murder. Anyways, I'm glad I didn't escalate to that point. But, Helle did meet with the divorce attorney. I mean, like, she was on it. She was like, she got the picture, and, like, literally 2 days later, she was like, give me the papers. I'm giving it to this man. I'm not doing this anymore. Because she was a strong woman, and that's definitely a sign of a strong woman. She made it clear to her attorney and the PI that she just did not want to keep being married to somebody that could not be faithful to her. And I agree.
And I'm like super proud of her for that. Like,
I agree. I would be the same way. I'm like, you just wasted, not necessarily waste because they had 3 kids, but like, why keep stringing me on like this if
you don't want this, then bye.
Let me know because I'll go find somebody that can like love me, and just me. If you want to be with multiple people, that's fine. They have people for that, but no. Yes, I did think she had a friend over for a while. It gets lonely. Your spouse is deployed. I know how that feels. But I moved home with my mom. I moved home with my mom. I didn't move a person into my home. Anyways, I'm feeling a little anxious right now, so we're gonna move on. But she was strong and wanted to do this and wanted to serve him with divorce papers, but she knew that Richard was not going to take this well. He had a temper. He had already made it clear to her that they were going to be together. They were going to be together or nothing at all, and that's very scary for somebody to tell you that. And
he all of a sudden became really possessive, which is kind of weird too.
It was the guilt. He knew he was cheating on his wife and had been doing it the entire time, because stuff will come out later that he had actually been sleeping with one particular flight attendant for almost 20 years, which is creepy. Like, why don't you just marry her?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like, it was the guilt. And this was the really creepy part that I would have been like, heck no. She had even expressed to a few close friends that if anything ever happened to her, it wasn't an accident.
Oh.
Like, that's not creepy at all. Like, that, I mean, that would be a huge red flag. Like, if Crystal came to me, I just know Tyler's not that kind of person. But if Crystal came to
I
me,
hope not.
I know, if Crystal came to me, I was like, hey, if I go missing or I'm murdered, it was not an accident. It was Tyler. Like, what? I would not let my friend go home.
Ever. No. I'd be like, okay, you're going to stay with me for the time being.
I'm not blaming her friends because, like, sometimes we can just say stuff because we're scared. Like, if, anything bad happens, you could be paranoid. But, like, she genuinely was telling her friends, like, if I go missing or I'm murdered, it's Richard. And I'm like, yes, that is 100% an abusive relationship. Very controlling, very manipulative, and, like, you're just stepping out on her. And she's working hard, mother of your children. Like, I don't understand sometimes. But, like, we also weren't there, so we can't really, like, say what we would do. I know me and Crystal were like, oh, I would do this, but, like, if we were, like,
And
in the
I mean, it could have been
situation,
something that she almost even said jokingly, and then
like,
her friends didn't realize the severity of it until after.
she probably could have, like, maybe said it in, like, passing, like, ah ha ha ha, if anything happens to me. But still very uncomfy, still very, very odd to say to a friend. But, like, here we have a man that was very involved in the community, very respectful. I mean, like, it gives me just a bunch of creepy old men that commit crimes, but nobody's going to say anything because he's a pillar of our community, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, he worked part-time as a police officer for the local department when he wasn't flying in Newtown. But, like, I mean, he can't do any wrong because he's a pilot and a police officer. Wrong. Just because you're good in the community does not mean that you're a good person. And Helle was extremely afraid of what was going to happen when she served him with the divorce papers. But she did. She had them, and she actually did serve him with the papers. Or she tried to. She tried to have the local sheriff that he actually worked with serve the papers, and he refused.
Why?
He refused, and he kept scheduling, like, meetings. Excuse me. He kept scheduling meetings to pick the divorce papers up, like, stop prolonging this. Like, just take the papers, okay? Like, we live in the same household. You know what you did to me. Just take the dang papers, all right? And coincidentally, he was actually officially served the papers 2 nights before she goes missing. That is true. They do say the spouse is the first suspect no matter what, which they should, because a lot of the times they are, in fact, murdered by their spouse. But, I mean, Helle was really the only person that knew the true Richard, because everybody described him as, like I said, pillar of the community. Oh, it couldn't possibly be him. He's such a great citizen, great part of our community. Wrong. Wrong, folks, wrong. And on November 18th, 1986, Helle actually returned from a flight from Germany with a few coworkers. They drove her home. That's a long flight. Germany, Connecticut, that's a long flight. I'm sure she was exhausted. They all carpooled home because it was snowing. Smart. I mean, I hate driving in snow, so I feel bad. And they said she was in high spirits. She was really looking forward to spending Thanksgiving holiday with her family. She was probably feeling happy because she had actually finally, served him with the papers. She was probably thinking, okay, we'll get through the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and then we'll separate, and, me and the kids can be happy and I can move on. That didn't happen. I'm sorry. And that night, eerily enough, a huge snowstorm hit. I think they called it Snowstorm Carl. I think that's what they called it.
Wait. They named snowstorms?
I did not know that either, which, I mean, I've never lived somewhere that, like, heavily snows a lot, only, like, so often. But they called it in one of the on one of the documentaries I watched. I think it was, like, God, it was either Oxygen or something, like, something well known. And they called it Snowstorm Carl. And I was like, they named snowstorms? But then I was like, okay, we named hurricanes, so, like.
Yeah, I just thought it was a hurricane thing. I didn't know it was a snowstorm
But
thing.
apparently for Connecticut, it was like a huge storm, and it's still today like one of the biggest snowstorms they had. So take note of that. And it happened that night, and it made a town-wide power outage, which is absolutely terrible when you have snow. It gets so cold in your house like that. I've been through that. It sucks. And it was very wet, cold snow. That sounds absolutely terrible. But I think I would take that over the thick layer of ice snowstorm that we had last month. That was awful. You couldn't walk outside without slipping. Your boots didn't go down in the snow. They just kind of
Grazed on the top.
set on top of it, and you just like it's like
You slid.
Like Bambi when he's first trying to walk.
Exactly.
That was me. So that was fun. And the very next morning, like super early in the morning, Richard woke up Dawn, which Dawn is the live-in nanny, and told her to take the kids over to his sister's house. He drove them over there, but he basically woke her up and said, "Can you please get the children dressed in their warm clothes?" The big snowstorm knocked power out, and his sister lived in the town over. I think it was New Haven. I'm so sorry. I'm not familiar with Connecticut names, but it was the town over from Newtown, and they had power. So I mean, that's smart, Dawn probably assumed because the power was out, it would be better for them to just go over there and kind of hang out so the kids weren't cold. So not that strange. But Dawn asked about Helle. She's supposed to be off that day, the next couple of days. And, where is she at? Is she not coming with us? Is she still asleep? Is she going to stay here? And Richard explained that she had left earlier that morning with her work bags packed, which that's peculiar.
That's strange. So did she get home before everyone went to sleep, or did she get home after they went to sleep?
It was after, and it was like right before the snowstorm hit. So like their flight from Germany landed, I want to say around like 1 a.m. And then it took them some time to get off the flight, get out of work and drive home. So I want to say she probably got her home around 2 a.m. And
so if he woke her up early, then that means she would have only gotten like 2 hours of sleep.
Exactly. After just being on a long flight. And he woke them up around like 6, 7 a.m. So only a few hours had passed. And that's really peculiar because like I just said, everybody was saying this was like the most massive, this back in the 80s, the most massive snowstorm they had in a few years. Mm-hmm. So why would she just like pack up her bags and just leave? And not, like
that just feels so weird.
That sounds like a really made up story.
Yeah.
And and also considering she wasn't scheduled to work for like 2 or 3 days. So why is she leaving with a packed bag? Where's she going? And I mean, I think Dawn was just so focused on it being so cold in the house and having no power. She just wanted to get the children out. So she kind of was just like, okay, we'll talk about this later, but that's definitely weird. And I want to talk about this, which good for you, Dawn. And Karen, which is Richard's sister in the town over, played hostess to her nieces, or to her niece and her nephews. And then Richard went back to the home. He said to inspect. I love that I can air quote. You guys can see it. He wanted to go inspect the house. and he was supposed to come pick them up around 2 p.m., and he actually did not come until like 7, 8 p.m. that night. So all morning, all afternoon, and into the night, he was at their house doing what? What are you doing at your home that you can't spend it at your sister's house in the warmth?
And like you cannot tell me that his sister and Don did not think it was weird that he's gonna drop the kids off and then spend all day at the house in the cold.
And there's no power. I mean, the power wouldn't be restored till like the next morning. It was like a full 24 hours. I mean, his sister did. I mean, she was like, okay, you were supposed to come back at 2, at 7. Like, I took care of the kids. I fed them dinner. But, like, where were you? He's like, oh, I had to do some things around the house, blah, blah, blah. And Dawn definitely thought it was weird because she started keeping an eye on him. She was like, Miss Helle left without telling me, and now you're gone all day and didn't come back and get us. Because Don didn't have a car, he drove them, dropped them off, and took the car back to the house. So all around, it was just weird.
Yeah, it's suspicious.
And Dawn had already thought it was weird that she had left and not said something to her. Like, you know, hey, while I'm gone, do this for the kids. Or, I'll be back on this day. So she was already, like, basically, like, sleeping with one eye open, if you will, you know. And on November 20th, 1986, so 2 whole days later, a coworker called the Craft residence to ask where Helle was because she hadn't shown up for her shift. And that was totally not like her. She had not even, like, called in for a sick day. Like, if Helle was scheduled to work, she worked. Like I said, she was super hard worker, very ambitious. She did her job, and she did it very well. And when she didn't show up, they just were like, no, something happened. Something is up. And Richard explained, this is so dumb. This is so dumb. Richard explained that he had just spoken to Helle on the phone, and she had flown back to Denmark, which is where she was from and where her mom still lived, because her mother was extremely sick and passing away. What? I mean...
Did he not think that they wouldn't be able to tell if she got in flight home?
Thank you. And what just happened? A massive snowstorm. I mean, I don't know a lot about up north and how, like, the airports work, but I feel like the airport would shut down if there was a massive snowstorm that they named Carl. Like, how is she going to leave?
I mean, obviously it didn't, since they were expecting her to show up for work.
Well, that was 2 days later, though. The night of the storm, she supposedly flew out.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
but, like, even with that, does he not realize as a pilot that they could find out if she took a flight home?
And, like, supposedly you saw her leave with her work bags. Why wouldn't she take, like, a regular suitcase? Why would she specifically take her work bag?
That makes no sense.
It doesn't. And like I said, Dawn was getting super suspicious. She was like, okay, so you said Miss Craft left with her work bag, assuming she picked up a shift. That's what Dawn had originally thought. Okay, she picked up a shift, no big deal. I'll help watch the kids. That's what my job is. Then she was like, there's no way Miss Helle would leave to go to Denmark and not tell me. Not give me instructions for the kids. Which, yes, no mom. I know I wouldn't. I'm not going to just leave across the world to Denmark. I mean, if my mom was sick, I mean, yeah, I would go. But I'm going to,
You're going to handle your family first.
I might even take my kids with me. Wouldn't they want to see their grandma before she passes? If she's passing, supposedly. I don't know. There was just like, I feel like me and Crystal could be detectives. Because I'd be like, hold up. And thankfully...
More like I would just look at people like they were stupid and be like, really? Like, that makes sense to you? How? Like, how did you think you were going to get away with this? Like, are you that dumb?
Yeah, but, like, thankfully, Helle's friends, they felt, like, so uneasy about the whole situation. The coworker that actually called, like, just said that the story Richard was giving just didn't feel true, which it wasn't. and she just felt very uncomfortable about the whole thing because they knew that Helle would have, one, reached out to them, and two, gotten her shift covered. She definitely would have said, hey, I'm going to visit my mom. Can somebody please take my shift? That was just her. So shout out to her friends, because we all need friends like that that really know us and would speak up to for us if we go missing. Because, I mean, yeah, this is just a bunch of just weird stuff all put together. And another thing that was odd is, like, they were really concerned, and Richard just wasn't. Richard just wasn't like, oh, she just left.
How do you not be concerned about your wife being missing?
And the odd thing being, they were actually the ones that filed the missing persons report with the local police department, not Richard. Her friends, her coworkers, they filed the missing report. Like 2 days later, like on the 22nd. Which, what? Like, why are you not? You haven't heard from your wife in what, 4 days now? Like, why are you not filing the report? Why are her coworkers filing the missing persons report? And then a close friend named Lena gave Helle's mother, look at this friend being super smart, gave Helle's mother a quick phone call. And she said, no, I actually haven't heard from Helle in a couple of weeks. And she was like, I'm not dying. I'm perfectly fine. That's odd. That's peculiar. Just, And this is why, like Crystal just said, this is why killers get caught. This is exactly why killers get caught. I mean, like, Richard made up a lie that literally could be disproved with a simple phone call. All somebody had to do was pick up the phone and ask her mom, and that's what her friend Lena did. She was like, no, I'm calling. Let me see if Helle is there. And her mom's like, no. Like, come on, dude. You couldn't think of something better? Like, this is what you left us with? Anyways, like, thank goodness Helle's friends truly cared for her, because, I mean, what would have happened if nobody filed the report, called her mom? Like, she could have probably just been missing for, like, months. And of course, they filed the report and she's still not here, so the police brought Richard in for questioning, because, like somebody said in the chat, your spouse is always the first suspect. Even if your spouse didn't do it, they're going to know you better than anyone else, so they're going to bring you in for questioning. And rightfully so, they bring Richard in. And he claimed, so his story flipped again. He claimed that morning, early before he woke the kids and Dawn up, his wife just got out of bed, got dressed, packed up her bags, and left the house on the 19th. She just left during a snowstorm with one duffel bag. And didn't say goodbye to the nanny or her kids. And that was his story, and he stuck to it. He said she didn't give any explanation. She just packed the bag, and walked out the house. And took her car. Which later they would find parked at the airport with all of her stuff in the back seat. So, like, if you're going to make it look like she drove herself to the airport and went somewhere, you should probably not leave the bag in the back seat. That's just, my 2 cents. If you,
like, how did he get home?
That's a good question. Maybe a taxi? Or the flight attendant girlfriend drove him home? I don't know. That's a good thing. I wasn't even thinking about that. But they do know that eventually they find out that he's the one that drove the car to the airport. So, he's not a pro. He is not a pro, but he did his best. And
it's a participation trophy.
Yes. And they did make him take a polygraph test, which he did pass, but, like, that's not anything. It's really not that hard to pass a polygraph test. They especially say that if you are a sociopath, like, sociopaths cannot, they literally cannot feel emotions. And that is literally what a polygraph is it's picking up on your stresses, on your heart rate. So like if you're not really feeling an emotion or reacting to the words, of course you're gonna pass polygraph tests because it's just you answering the question and it's scribbling down your answer. So polygraph tests are not really that reliable, and I see why they still use them, but I feel about polygraph tests like I feel about plea deals, and Crystal knows how I feel about those. Anyway.
Don't understand.
And this is the funny part. The detectives actually believed that he didn't do it at first. They were like, nah, he passed the test. He seems like, just a husband that his wife left. Which, shame on you guys for that. But, and they were actually saying that they should look in other directions. That maybe, she just left and maybe they should try to find a boyfriend. It's so funny that they want her to be the cheating spouse.
Of course.
It has to be the woman. Anyways, and this is when the state called in because she just vanished and there was no evidence. So they called in Dr. Henry Lee. He was literally my favorite from this case. Like, he was just, so spunky and, he knew his job. And at the time, in 1986, he was head chief of the Criminalist Laboratory. That's probably not how you describe it, but basically he was the head honcho for CSI, okay? He controlled all of that for the state of Connecticut, which is huge. That's, he's not control of one lab. He was control of the state of Connecticut. So that's pretty big. And since Helle did, in fact, disappear without a trace, they had nothing. They called him in because they knew if there was evidence, he was 100% going to find it. And this is when they finally got a major break in the case. When Dawn, really shout out to Dawn because she has been an A1 since day one for Miss Helle. She went to the police department because, remember Helle's private investigator, Keith Mayo? He was kind of speaking with them because he kept going to the police department saying, hey, I was already investigating Richard. He was definitely cheating on his wife. She had already expressed to me and her attorney that if anything happened to her, take note of that. And he kind of approached Dawn and was like, do you know anything? You live inside the home. And she had disclosed some things to him, and he was like, you need to go to the police department immediately. So she did. And she had questioned Mr. Craft one afternoon when she was putting their laundry away about a large red stain on the bedroom carpet. Okay, we already have somebody that's been missing. That's, not suspicious at all.
Sorry, I keep yawning, and I promise you it's just so people don't come for me in the comments. I'm really not. It's not because I'm bored with the case. I just got the...
Tired.
No, I got the shot today, and, I guess my side effect is I am
tired.
I could sleep for 12 years. I'm sorry. Someone's going to leave a comment that I was yawning the entire time. It's not on purpose.
Fine. We're humans. Okay, so she saw this really suspicious red stain on the carpet, and he had an explanation. He said that during the snowstorm, one of the kerosene heaters, little kerosene lamps, the heater had flipped over and the oil had got on the carpet.
That leaves a red stain?
I was thinking the same thing. I thought...
Because, my grandparents had one of those lamps when I was a kid, and it was never red.
My grandparents did, too, and we used them during power outages, and, I grew up on a farm, so, you use it to walk outside and stuff. But it's like a brown liquid, but I feel like every time that I've spilled it, because you inevitably spill it.
Yeah.
I feel like it was clear when it dried. So
yeah, that's how I thought it was.
I don't know. That was weird. And Dawn was definitely probably thinking the same thing. She was like, no, that doesn't sound right at all. So the very same day, like literally that morning, Dawn was putting the laundry up, saw it, questioned Mr. Craft. That same day, he ripped the entire carpet up in the master bedroom. Just ripped it up.
That's a bit excessive.
Yes. Why not clean the stain? Why not just clean the stain out of the carpet? I mean, that's literally extreme, that every time you get a stain on your carpet, you're going to just rip the carpet up.
That ain't cheap.
No. Oh my god, I was thinking about how much that would be. Like, carpet is expensive. Even if you get, like, the cheap, scratchy, like, nobody wants to walk on our vacuum carpet, it's expensive. And so the police asked him about it. And he was straight up about it. He said, yeah, it was a lamp. It fell over. I didn't want to worry with it. I couldn't get the stain out. So I just tore the carpet out and put new carpet in. And he said that he took it to a local landfill and dumped it. And he cut it in 2 foot inch, or not 2 inches. Oh my god, that would be forever. 2 foot long strips. So it would be easier to carry it out. So he didn't have to hire anybody to help him. What's amazing is they went to the landfill and they actually found the carpet.
Oh, wow.
I feel like that's amazing. You know how much garbage is probably out there?
Yeah.
And they, like, I don't know, like, that just was really amazing to me. This is where the case, I mean, it was already crazy, but this is where the case really starts just getting, like, insane. The day of the snowstorm, so about 2 weeks prior, because it's been some time now, the snowstorm had, like I said, left the whole town without power. Very cold, no heat, no light, no nothing. And Mr. Craft had that day that he took Dawn and his children to his sister, rented a wood chipper. Okay, that's not really, I mean, it's strange. Not super strange, but it is snowing outside. You just had a snowstorm. There's no electricity, there's no heat. Your children are away at your sister's. You're supposed to be picking them up. What are you doing with a wood chipper? Like, what was on your agenda? You can't get to the wood. There's snow everywhere. There's like foot and foots of snow. Like, I don't know. And he also visited a local store, like probably like a kind of like a Walmart, Target. They didn't really say. And he purchased completely new bedding, sheets, comforter, pillows. I mean, the whole works. Like stuff for a whole new bedroom. All during a snowstorm.
I'm telling you, these murderers that do stuff on a whim are dumb.
I mean, not only is it a snowstorm.
Okay, but this is another thing. Why would you need a whole new bedding set? Do you not have another set of sheets? Because I have like 3.
I do too. I keep them because, I mean, I have kids. Sometimes they sleep with us and they're messy. And my husband and my son have religious nosebleeds. So I have stacks and stacks of sheets.
Yeah, and like that's normal to me. So I guess that's proof that he doesn't know what's going on in his house. That he doesn't know that. I guarantee you, she's a woman. She has more than one set of sheets.
Yeah, and like also like, why are you updating your room when there's a snowstorm and like the wood chipper and like,
your wife is gone.
Your wife is missing. Your wife is literally missing, and she has been missing.
Why is redoing your room a priority?
I don't know, but like, shout out to the credit card company, and I know me and Crystal say this a lot because this breaks cases, y'all. Being able to get into these companies, I wish phone companies were a little bit easier to get into, and me and Crystal talked about that a few episodes ago, but shout out to the credit card company for releasing all of this information to the police department, because this is how they know what was going on and what Mr. Craft was up to this lovely day that his wife supposedly left him. And there's more. The wood chipper and the bedding is not it, folks. He also, the day before, bought a freezer. Okay, once again, not that odd. They're a family of what, 5, 6, counting Dawn, their living nanny. So maybe they needed it for more food to store. And a U-Haul. Okay, the U-Haul is weird. I mean, the wood chipper's weird. The U-Haul, yeah, like, what are you doing?
Well, is it a U-Haul trailer that he needed to like put the freezer on to transport to his house?
It was a U-Haul truck. Like, the truck, not the trailer.
Still, maybe that's all he had available, and that's how.
That
I'm just playing devil's advocate.
And that's kind of what the police said. They were like, okay, freezer. They were like, they are a family. You know, could be the U-Haul. Yeah, it could be because they only had a car. So, yeah, and maybe he needed to transfer the wood chipper as well. But then they're also like, what do you need the wood chipper for? So it was just, I don't know.
It's weird. The whole thing is strange.
I mean, I don't want killers to be good at what they do, but
some of them are very stupid.
I feel like if you're gonna go out of your way to take a person's life, like, he just, like, I don't know. Like, it was just like, this is like a no-brainer. Red flags were just popping up one after the other. And this was literally all over his wife wanting a divorce because he was constantly cheating on her while she was away working, and your kids are at home with the nanny. I mean, she just wanted to get away from you and for you to stop cheating on her. Like, that's it. That's literally it. That's not a lot to ask for.
All he had to do was let her get a divorce and
move
split
on.
custody and move on with their lives.
If he wants to keep going out there, you know, living his life, do him. And so we fast forward to the next month, and on December 25th, 1986, the police they had enough that they were very suspicious of Richard, and they wanted to get inside the home and just kind of investigate. So they got a warrant, and they decided to do it on Christmas because the Craft family and Dawn were actually away for the holiday, and they didn't want to cause any more trauma to the children of them seeing their home being searched, which, you know, at this point they know that something's happened to their mom. So that was very respectful of the police department. So good on them. And when they get inside the home, they find that it is literally a disaster. And honestly, I'm amazed that Dawn hadn't said anything else. But it was just very alarming considering that small children lived inside the home. All the rooms were torn apart, and a good amount of the household items were burned in their fireplace, which is just, I don't understand that part, like why he was burning stuff, but like very odd that, and they took note of that. It was hard to search the home because it literally looked like somebody had came in and just like ransacked the whole place. But Dr. Henry Lee, the criminalist, found a small section of blood splatter on the master bedroom mattress. Okay, why change the carpet? Why rip up the carpet for the blood stain and not get rid of the bloody mattress? That part I didn't understand. Like, you could visibly, like, they have pictures, and you can Google and look it up, of the crime scene. You can physically see the blood on the mattress.
Maybe he thought it was too big to get rid of.
True, or maybe you can explain, you know, like I just said, nosebleed. She's a woman, you know, menstrual blood or something. But that was odd, and it was they tested the blood, and back then, this was 1986, guys, DNA was not the best. They could, though, find out that it was female, and it was type O, which is exactly what Helle Craft was. Woman, and her blood type was O. So, kind of a no-brainer, which, I mean, it is her home, so that's not really that odd. But, like I said, it was a splatter. It wasn't just like a droplet because they can determine that, which is amazing. It is amazing what they can determine just by looking at a blood stain. They determined that it was, in fact, a splatter, like a high force velocity splatter. And by the pattern, that let the team know that Helle had suffered some sort of blunt force trauma. To this day, they don't know what the weapon was. They want to say that it was probably a hammer from inside the home. I don't know how, but we'll go with it. And from the pattern, it looked like she had either been laying on the bed, so probably hitting the back of the head, or they were having an argument and she was standing by that corner of the bed and it kind of splattered down onto the mattress. But the pattern definitely let them know that she was hit very hard in the back of the head, which is amazing. I'm assuming maybe it had like some brain matter in it, or I don't know, but it's amazing what they can do with just literally like a little drop of blood. But at this point, they didn't have a body. I mean, they definitely now know that something happened. She didn't just walk out the door like Richard said with her one little duffel bag from work. And this right here, folks, this is literally the moment that the whole case broke wide open. And honestly, if this hadn't happened, I don't think they would have ever solved the case. I think this would be a cold case. But a snowplower driver, because like they just had a massive storm, came forward and said he may have witnessed something weird that could explain Helle's disappearance. Because that day of the snowstorm, that morning, it happened that night, he was clearing the roads and he saw a man feeding stuff in like continuously into a wood chipper.
Like, that's not suspicious on a random snowy night.
On a snow, like, literally, this man is out clearing the roads so people could go to work, and this man is out in the snow feeding stuff into a wood chipper. And he said it was on a bridge, like in the picture, it's like this metal bridge that goes over the water, over Lake Zor. And he said the wood chipper was faced into the lake. So he was putting stuff into the wood chipper and it was going into the lake.
This man's an idiot. I mean,
first off, like, that's not eco-friendly. Like, that's not what you do with your wood chippings, is just throw it into the lake. And also, why are you, like, why? And he did later identify the man he saw as Richard Craft. He was like 100% certain because this was a very odd situation to run into, and he clearly remembered his face because he had actually spoken to him. And he saw his face in the newspapers, on the local news, and he said he knew it was him because when it happened, he rolled his window down and he said, "Are you okay?" And like Mr. Kraft just waved him on and told him to just go around him. Just go around. That's all he said. That's okay. All right. That's not weird at all.
Okay, yeah.
This is the weird part, though. So he's on his route working, and he goes through the town, and then he comes back to put the snowplow up because he's done for the day. And he says that Mr. Kraft was still out there on the bridge using the wood chipper when he passed by to go home. So
that means he's been doing a lot of wood chipping.
During a snowstorm, because it was still snowing. I mean, it wasn't like a storm at that point, but it was still snowing.
I guess my question is like, do you not think, like, y'all can probably see the reflection of my screen in my classes right now because what I am doing is looking up what a wood chipper looks like, number one, because I can see it in my head, but I needed a visual reference. But number one, you took the time to take this machine out in the snow and you're finding wood to cut or to chip. Why, number one, do you choose to do this in the middle of a snowstorm? Would you not do it during a random day when it's not snowing, maybe after the snow. If it was
Um,
that important to wood chip this wood, would you not do it before the storm so that it wouldn't be covered up by the snow? Like,
he had an explanation for that. He said it was actually known in the town that they were trying to build more houses around Lake Zor, and he was known to go out there and use a wood chipper to clear the land. But like we've been saying, it's a snowstorm. There's like what, probably 4 or 5 feet of snow. What wood are you getting to? Like, why would you need to clear land that day? And why are
like why is
you
it so important to do it then?
on a bridge with the wood chipper facing into a lake?
Especially when your children are
Not with you and
not
your
with you, they're cold, and your wife suddenly left, and you want to know why she left, and y'all
it,
are in a bad place.
it I mean, so once the snow plower man, I'll leave him nameless, came forward, the police were like, okay, like they were already suspecting that they were starting to suspect that it was Richard, which is amazing that they originally said it wasn't him. Anyways, um, once the snowplower man came forward, they went out to Lake Zor because there was like, okay, like we're thinking, why is this crazy man out in a snowstorm using a wood chipper and facing it into Lake Zor? So they went out and just kind of investigated around the water's edge, and they found wood chippings. Not that odd. Of course, he would probably chop wood in the wood chipper to make it look like that's what he was using for. This is the amazing part, and I still can't believe that they found this. They found a crown to a tooth, which is amazing.
Wow.
Which is amazing. And dental records, and thank goodness for dental records, connected it to Helle.
Mhm.
That's amazing in itself. And they actually found, they couldn't test it because I'm pretty sure it was probably like mangled, but they found part of a finger. Um, not like the tip, but like this part right here, like the bottom of your finger,
Oh,
from
wow.
like the knuckle to here, that part of the finger, by the edge of the lake, like in the midst of like wood chippings, wood shavings,
Hmm.
and that's just amazing. I mean, like I was thinking it could have got washed away into the lake,
Yeah.
and then how are they going to find it in the lake? And then I was like, an animal easily could have picked up that finger. I mean, animals don't know. They just, smell it and they think food, which
Yeah.
thank goodness they didn't. Um, and literally, the snowplow man put the nail in the coffin because that's all they needed. They have a witness of him using the snowplow, and then they have a finger that obviously went through a wood chipper. So it was just like, I honestly believe if that man hadn't came forward, that I don't know. I don't know if they could have.
Oh, 100%. They would never have been able to put that together because
I mean, he literally saw him on the bridge all day using this wood chipper, and then they found Hella's crown and her part of her finger that's been through a wood chipper, and you were using it. I mean, he solved the case. He solved the case for them.
oh yeah.
And oddly enough, this was actually the first case closed without a physical body as proof. They don't have a body as a whole, and they never really found everything, which is very, very sad for the rest of Hella's family. But it was the first case solved in Connecticut and the U.S. as a whole without a body, which I think is amazing. I mean, at least, I mean, they know. I mean, a finger and a tooth and everything else, and they found her hair.
I
Um,
think body parts should be considered a body. Like, no one's walking around with the bottom half of their finger missing, not getting medical attention.
in your crown and your tooth,
Yeah.
like you don't just rip that. And they found hair, tons of her hair that had just been shredded. It was
Like, that
not.
just, to me, that's just obvious that something happened. So,
Something
yeah.
happened to her. Yeah, something that you definitely wouldn't recover from. And on January 13th, 1987, so this is about almost 2 months later, the Newtown police went for the arrest of Richard Craft. They finally had gotten enough evidence, because we've talked about this before on the podcast. You can't just like, oh, we think it's him, and then go arrest him. You have to have a ton of evidence, because if you don't, then they're just going to throw it all out, and then you're not going to be able to convict them. So they did it the smart way. They got all the evidence together. They waited for all the DNA testing and everything and the samples to come back. They had all their ducks in a row, and then that's when they went for the arrest. And they had to think of how to do it, because they feared for the children's safety. They didn't want to go for the arrest and something happened to the kids, or Richard do something to himself or the kids or something. So they went to the house, announced they were there, and they basically just waited for him to come out, because they knew if they went into the home, something was going to happen. So I'm glad they did that. And after several hours, Richard finally came out. I mean, at that point, he knows. I mean, it's up. You, for the sake of your children, just go outside, go ahead with the arrest, and that's what he did. And his first trial, and I say first trial because there was multiple, took close to 4 months and thousands of hours of work and evidence, and just 17 whole days of deliberation. And deliberation is basically when the jury has seen everything that they can, and now they're just trying to all have a unanimous vote on either guilty or not guilty. So 17 days of the jury sitting in a room all day deciding if he was guilty or not. And it took 17 days because...
That's crazy.
It is. And a lot of people, honestly, it's crazy that we do this. And I mean, I know why we do juries, but so many people, I've read so many stories of like after people have been on a jury and they talk about the mental toll it takes on them, the physical toll, because they're seeing stuff that nobody should have to deal with. And then they're basically signing somebody's life away if they're either going to be set free or spend the rest of their life in prison.
And sometimes if they're going to give the death penalty.
Exactly. So a lot of the juries from the first trial just like were just mentally and physically exhausted. And it was because one man that refused to give a guilty. He was the only innocent. He 100% believed that Mr. Craft was innocent because there was no body.
Wow.
He said, because there's a body, how do we know? He said, I can't say that this man is guilty. I can't put this man in jail for life. And I'm like, dude, did you not see any of all the other evidence?
Like I said, no one's walking around with part of their finger missing, just around, and a bunch of hair and a crown from their tooth, and they're just completely missing, and there's a giant stain that he ripped carpet up for.
I'm just gonna say I have a theory. I feel like that jury maybe had cheated on his spouse or something in the beginning, and they probably thought that all the women on the jury were just biased because he had cheated and blah 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 blah, and they were just trying to say he was guilty. But
I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, probably, but look at all the other evidence, body or not. This man was out on a bridge during a snowstorm from dusk till dawn putting stuff in a wood chipper, and then her finger and her tooth and her hair are found by the lake shredded, and you're gonna say this man didn't do it? And he said that she walked out the door that morning with a bag.
I don't believe it.
I mean, yeah, and it took 17 days of this man saying that Richard Craft was innocent. But that was the first trial. A mistrial had to be declared because that juror actually left and refused to work on the case anymore. So, since that happened, a mistrial had to be declared, and a second trial was started a little bit later in 1989. It took 2 years. I don't know why it takes so long.
I've never understood why it takes people so long.
The only thing I can think of is they were really trying to find the right jury. They did not want to have any bias, from the women and the
And I think
cheating
some
and
of
the
it has to
men.
be too, they have to give the defense enough time to prepare a case
Oh yeah,
and same with a prosecution.
because it's got to be a new attorney, a new judge, a new jury. It's got to be everything new because
And you have to test stuff again, and like that's basically what's happening in the case when the ones we're doing tomorrow that I told you about was reopened. They're having to test evidence again, they're having to do interviews again, they're having to do all this
Mm-hmm.
work again, and it takes time.
Yeah, it does.
You can't just get everyone to show up day one to talk to you as soon as you need them to. You cannot run DNA same day and get everything you want back. Like, it just doesn't work that way.
But the second trial eventually, like I said, 2 years later in 1989, went underway and it was unanimous. He was found guilty straight across the board. And he was found guilty of first degree murder, like I said, which was the first time in the U.S. without a physical body. And he was sentenced to 50 years in prison, which is odd because you normally get life.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm probably assuming since they didn't physically have the body, that's probably why they gave him the 50 years, which is dumb, but c'est la vie. And like I said, or like we were talking about earlier, Craft is actually a free man, an free 82-year-old man. Probably not threatening more at 80.
Sorry for all the slamming doors on this side. Tyler came in and I guess didn't realize I was streaming or something.
For all you guys on YouTube that are gonna talk about how noisy we are.
Sorry.
But he's a free 82-year-old man. He actually lives in a halfway house in New Haven. I think that's where it is in Connecticut. Halfway house for veterans.
Which I didn't understand that. I saw that, but I was very confused as to why he's in a halfway house for veterans, and I saw another one, it was like for like homeless people too. Like, I don't understand.
I don't know. I'm assuming because none of his family wants anything to do with him and he has nowhere to go. He served 32 years in prison for the murder and then the cover up of his wife's murder. So he probably has nowhere to go. I mean, he's 82 years old. He can't work. I mean, so this is what he has left, and I don't feel sorry for him. I mean,
no, not at all.
And it's amazing that he got out after 32 years. I mean, he was supposed to serve 50. They say he was released for good behavior, and there was some kind of law or something that has now changed that if you serve a certain amount of your term and you've never gotten in trouble, that you can be released early. And in the 32 years that he served, he never got in trouble for fighting or anything. The only thing I could find is he got in trouble one time for having contraband in his cell. It didn't say what it was, just that it was not drugs. I don't know why they needed to clarify that, but we don't care if he did drugs or not. He's a murderer.
I guess it's because it's prison.
But yeah, so yeah, he is out there. And yeah, served 32.
I don't like that he's out there.
I mean, he's 82. He probably can barely hold his pee and walk to the bathroom. I don't feel sorry for him. The people on YouTube that already hate me are probably gonna hate me for saying that about the elderly, but not all the elderly kill. So, this man literally spent 32 years in prison because he killed his wife because he cheated. She did. This isn't a situation where the spouse cheated and you get so angry that you kill them. He cheated.
Yeah, it's
And
plain and simple. That's it.
all she asked for was a divorce. And his reasoning, because he gave several reasons on why he did kill her,
He just didn't want to let go of her.
he didn't want to let go of her, and he was afraid that Helle would take the children away from him and he would never see them again. Well, guess what? You served 32 years in prison and didn't get to see your children, and now your children don't want anything to do with you because you killed their their mother, and now you're living in a halfway house as a sad old man. So, people don't think about this. They just get in this fit of rage. Like, anger management probably would have been very good for him since he had such a temper. But, like, it is amazing that Helle, a super sweet, hard-working mom, literally lost her life because she spoke out for herself, knew she deserved better, and was trying to get away from her husband.
Mm-hmm. Plain and simple. That's it. This whole story could have never happened if he just would have let her go.
Just let her go. I guarantee, like, Helle did not seem like the person to keep her children away from him. She definitely probably would have let him continue to be in their lives. But she just wanted to be happy. She just wanted to be with somebody that wanted to be with her and wasn't cheating on her every time that she left. Mm-hmm. She was literally leaving to go work. She already did.
And he was cheating on her.
And he was cheating. Like, it's just, it says a lot about people. And unfortunately, a lot of the cases that me and Crystal talk about on the podcast, it revolves around some type of cheating or something like, don't cheat on your spouse, people, and then murder them. Just move on with your life if you're unhappy. That's all you gotta do.
That's all you have to do. They both would have been happier people if he'd have just let her go and been like, okay, we'll get divorced.
He could have kept sleeping with people. I mean,
yeah,
fine, but just she said she didn't want it to be on her. So, anyways,
it's so dumb.
That is all I have. If Crystal wants to add anything to it,
I don't really have anything to add to this case. I don't know if that's fortunately or unfortunately. I just think it's a very interesting one.
It was sad. It was literally sad when I first started researching it, and I was like, this lady literally died because her husband cheated on her.
For no reason, too. Like, it's just, I guess that's what a lot of murders are, for completely no reason. It's just because someone's an idiot. But this one, she was just this innocent woman who was in this really crappy situation and said, hey, I want to get out. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to embarrass you. I don't want to embarrass myself. I don't want to embarrass our children.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tired of putting up this facade. Let's just part ways. And he could have said, okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
Done. And she could have been living to this day, and who knows where she would be.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know.
Exactly. Anyways, and like we do at the end of every episode, if you guys have something that you want us to talk about on next month's stream, let us know in the comments in the chat, because I love when you guys give us something to talk about. Like, it literally
I do too.
Fuels my mind, and I especially like it when it's a case I've never heard about, and I can just engross myself in just the World Wide Web and YouTube.
The World Wide Web.
So let us know what you guys want us to talk about. It can be another true crime. This was fun. We did a conspiracy last time. I feel like the last couple streams we've done a conspiracy. So if you guys want us to do another true crime or
a mystery,
a cold case, or we haven't talked about anything paranormal on Twitch yet. If you guys want us to talk about something spooky,
so you can email it to us, you can text it to us, you can Instagram it to us, whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
We'll take your request.
Yep.
and add it to our ever-growing list of topics to talk about.
It keeps growing. It keeps growing because of you guys letting us know, and TikTok and Instagram, and like we're.
It's bad. Like the list that I started in our Google Docs is probably like half of what's on my phone right now. Because every time I talk to somebody or I see something, I just write it in my phone.
Yeah, I gotta scroll through my TikTok messages and write down the cases because I'll watch the video and be like, ooh, I gotta tell Crystal about that, and then I forget to go back on there. So.
Yeah, I do too. I did the same.
Alrighty.
Okay.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out with us. I know we always look forward to this all month long. I would really love it if we could do more of these a month, but like we literally are so busy all month long recording podcast episodes, getting it up for you guys on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
And maybe one day we'll get better at it, and maybe we can start, getting to the point where we are good enough to record multiple podcasts in one day, and then
gives us time. Yeah, I would love to do 2 a month. That's my goal right now. If we could do 2 a month, that would be awesome. Like the first week and maybe the last week of the month, that would be amazing. But
it should be probably the second and fourth,
something like that.
Because if we did the first and last week, there'd be 2 back-to-back.
That's true. This is why I have Crystal around to keep me in check and be logical. But yeah, let us know what you guys want us to talk about on the next stream, and we should catch you guys sometime in the beginning of April. Bye, guys.
Bye.